It killed 3 pedestrians in McLean. A 4th victim is in intensive care, his legs crushed. We have 2 reports, the first from Mac Lee.
A Fairfax County Police cruiser with Kyung Sung Keel in the front seat drove into the Judicial Center shortly after noon. The 47-year-old McLean man is charged in last night's hit-and-run that killed 3 young men and injured a 4th. The victims were changing a tire in the 1500 block of Westmoreland Street in McLean when a van allegedly driven by Keel plowed into them. The accident took place around 10 o'clock last night. Keel became a suspect following a morning phone call to police headquarters.
After talking with him at his home, they determined that he was in fact involved and took him into custody. They also seized his vehicle at that time.
The badly damaged Chevrolet van remains here at Fairfax County Police headquarters, where it is still being processed. Bond for Keel is set at $100,000. He is charged with felony hit and run. Authorities say Keel is the owner of several laundromats in the area, a respected businessman who has lived in Northern Virginia for more than 10 years. Commonwealth Attorney Robert Horan said if Keel had only stopped and rendered aid, he probably would not have been charged. Phyllis Armstrong has more on the story.
Keep the faith, Jim, and pray. I need you to pray for me.
It is prayer that Amir Ruscio believes will soothe the ache in his 17-year-old son's heart. It is his own belief in God that he says will get him through the death of another son, 20-year-old Lawrence Ruscio.
He had just gotten his first real job starting next Wednesday morning, and he was very excited and even kind of quipped me about it because I was constantly after him to get himself started on life and get things going. And he quipped me about it, asked me where were his congratulations for getting the new job.
Ruscio's friends and members of his church came to his Chantilly home today to console him. Ruscio says Lawrence loved playing guitar and his friends, even taking their car keys to prevent them from driving if they had been drinking. Meanwhile, in Falls Church, another family mourned. 19-year-old Douglas Souther not only lost his friend Lawrence Ruscio in last night's hit-and-run accident, but also his 23-year-old brother Stephen.
When I see this van just hauling ass, didn't even put on his brakes once, just started accelerating. Then I started running after him, and I was just panicking. And the further I run, I must have ran a good 30, 40 yards, and I kept finding different friends.
Souther, his father, and a family friend turned to each other for comfort as they asked how the driver charged with felony hit and run could have kept going after the crash on Westmoreland Street.
He could have stopped, regardless of who it was, you know. He wouldn't have liked it. It had been somebody, it had been his family or somebody, you know. That is right.
The only one to survive the impact of the crash is Souther's 20-year-old friend, Sean Lawrence of Herndon. He suffered multiple fractures of both legs, and doctors here at Fairfax Hospital operated more than 12 hours to right leg. You think it's going to be pretty hard for Douglas to get over this one?
Yes, it is. It's going to be real hard for him to... The ordeal of losing his brother and being there and seeing it, that's what's going to be the hardest for him to forget, and he will be able to forget it for a long time.
Douglas Souther says he and the other young men had been on their way to 20-year-old Robert Sterzel's home in Dunloring when the accident happened. Ironically, Souther says he and Sterzel had played together in a band called Deceased. Phyllis Armstrong, Eyewitness News.
Accident in McLean, Virginia last night. He's out of jail on $100,000 bond tonight. 47-year-old Kyung Sung Keel, shown in the blue blazer on the left of your screen, was released from jail just minutes ago. The van he was driving was confiscated from his home this morning. 3 young men were killed in the accident, 1 seriously hurt. Mac Lee has our report.
The badly damaged Chevrolet van was brought to Fairfax County Police headquarters this morning. The vehicle was allegedly driven by a 47-year-old McLean man who faces charges in connection with last night's hit and run. Kyung Sung Keel in the front seat of this police cruiser surrendered to authorities this morning.
He called the station, or called the telephone to confirm that it wasn't a crank call, and then went out to his home to further investigate it. After talking with him at his home, they determined that he was in fact involved and took him into custody. They also seized his vehicle at that time.
Police say Keel left the scene of last night's accident, which occurred in the 1500 block of Westmoreland Street in McLean. 3 young men were killed and a 4th injured when the van plowed into them as they were changing a tire. Keel is now charged with felony hit and run.
Well, the police didn't feel the evidence at the scene was enough to charge manslaughter. Under Virginia law, you must be able to show that the driving behavior leading up to the accident is done in a willful and wanton reckless disregard of human life.
Keel's van has been impounded and remains here at Fairfax County Police Headquarters. Police say Keel lives in the 700 block of Ridge Drive in McLean. He is described as a respected businessman who owns several laundromats and has lived in Northern Virginia for more than determined if drugs or alcohol were contributing factors. They also say he probably would not have been charged had he stopped and rendered aid. Keel was released a short time ago after posting a bond of $100,000. Reporting live from Fairfax County Police Headquarters, Mac Lee, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Mac. Maureen?
3 families stunned by sudden deaths of 3 young men and the serious injury of a 4th are trying to cope with their grief tonight. Phyllis Armstrong has the reactions of 2 of the victims' loved ones, including the young man who witnessed his brother's death.
All my friends were gone. I was there alone. So I looked to my right. First thing I seen was my brother's body laying with his face this way.
The sorrow of the Souther family and friends was painfully evident as they stood on a Falls Church street this afternoon. John Souther had come to comfort one son while mourning the loss of another, 23-year-old Stephen Souther.
Yeah, he's an average boy, pretty good kid, you know. No, none of them perfect, you know. Yeah, he had pretty good control when he gets something out in the school, you know.
Souther's 19-year-old son Douglas witnessed the horrible aftermath of the hit-and-run accident last night in McLean. The younger Souther says the driver accused of felony hit-and-run in the deaths of 3 people and the serious injury of another never slowed down after the accident.
I feel like I've been robbed. Some 20-year-old people and ripped their lives apart, just left them torn to shreds on the street to die.
Souther's 20-year-old friend who survived the hit-and-run accident went into surgery here at Fairfax Hospital at 2:30 this morning. Sean Lawrence of Herndon suffered multiple fractures of both legs, and doctors operated more than 12 hours in an effort to save his right leg. Emergency medical Ruscio, he died instantly from the impact that knocked him and the other victims 20 to 75 feet down Westmoreland Street. His father says the talented guitar player was a popular leader who looked out for his friends.
Whenever they went to any parties and somebody got a little out of hand, and as many teenagers do, they will slip a few beers or whatever, he'd always steal his friends' keys so they won't drive while drunk or under the influence. He was always a leader among all his friends.
Amir Ruscio was surrounded by his friends as he explained that his son would have started a new job next week as a security guard. But while the Ruscios turn to prayer to bear their grief, the Southers say it will take more than a conviction and stiff sentence for the driver to help Douglas forget. Ironically, the 3rd young man killed, 20-year-old Robert Sterzel, played bass in a band with Souther, a rock group named Deceased. Phyllis Armstrong, Eyewitness News.
At this hour